Andrew Rosenberg Law. Clear plans. Peace of mind. Andrew Rosenberg Law. Plan it right, protect it all. Andrew Rosenberg Law. Guiding you when life gets hard. Andrew Rosenberg Law. Peace of mind, secure your future. Andrew Rosenberg Law. If you don't plan, you're stupid.
Welcome back to If You Don't Plan, You're Stupid, with Florida estate planning attorney Andrew Rosenberg. Andy helps South Florida families protect their legacy, avoid legal chaos, and make sure their plans actually work when life gets messy. I'm Shamika Rhymes, and today we're talking about how beneficiary designations often override what's written in your will or trust, which can send your assets in a completely different direction than you intended. Hi, Andy.
Hey, Shamika, how are ya?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm going to do something real quick. Are you ready?
Yes. Andy, what is a beneficiary designation? See, I got it out. And how is it different from what's written in a will or a trust?
Okay, so yeah, this is it's a crazy this is a crazy scenario because it in all seriousness this causes lots of problems. I've seen it. I can't tell you in my 33 plus years of practice how many times I've seen a problem from this. When someone names a beneficiary, that will not go through, shouldn't go through a will or a trust or whatever it might be. So it causes a problem because someone says in the will, I want it to go to my 3 kids equally. Kid 1, kid 2, kid 3, right? Thing 1, thing 2, thing 3, right?
Yes.
We're doing a little joke there. And then they have a designation on an IRA, and they name thing 1 as the only beneficiary.
Mm-hmm.
What happens? Thing 2 and thing 3 are not going to get anything. All right. In that situation,
Yeah.
they are not going to get anything. And that's the problem. So that hence is the problem, Shamika, is that when you name a beneficiary, that will control over what the will and the trust and everything else says. And that's where that's where the problem lies.
Okay. So it's thing 1, and if I change my number so they can't contact me, is that bad?
That would not be good, okay? But I've seen situations, unfortunately, where I've had one of our prior episodes we talked about titling of assets, and this is very similar. Okay, this is a very similar situation when we're talking about beneficiary designation. Now you got me screwing up, by the way. Beneficiary designations versus titling of assets. It's a very similar and fine line that we're talking about here. And I have unfortunately seen it many times where the mom or dad or whoever leaves the inheritance to whoever they're leaving things to. They say they want it to go to the kids equally, and then they title an asset with one of the kids on the account, or they do a beneficiary designation and name one of the kids as the beneficiary. And it's an unintended consequence is that that person that is named as the beneficiary on that particular asset, they're going to get more than the other kids. And unfortunately, guys, money does strange things to people. And I hate to tell you, it's not the amount of money, it's just money in general. And I've seen it when it's not money, guys. I've seen crazy things when it comes to like a teddy bear collection. I've seen families lose relationships from siblings over their favorite teddy bear or their favorite watch or this or that or whatever it might be. And imagine it, and when it comes to money and a beneficiary designation, and it could be a substantial amount of money, then it's even more of a problem. And it causes more family issues and family unsettling of relationships and and forever change relationships when it comes to money. And again, it's not the amount. I've seen people fight over hundreds of dollars, and I've seen people fight over millions, and it's a shame. Just when money's involved, people do funny things.
Yeah, it always often starts at the funeral and things start to get ugly, and it's when they they kind of start. It amps up, and
Yeah,
then as things, I don't know if you've seen
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I can't tell you how many times. I mean, they just passed away. Their body's still warm, and I get a call from someone say, "Hey, mom just died. What do we do?" I'm like, "Oh my God,
Wow.
just grieve. Do deal with the funeral first.
Hmm.
The money and everything else will take care of itself, guys. All right. I mean, I'm here for a reason. Well, I'm not going anywhere. We'll deal with it.
Hmm.
I mean, and then there's situations, Shamika, where people have died 3, 5, 8 years ago, and they haven't done anything with the assets. And then all of a sudden they want to sell the house and they can't sell it. And they call me because we got to go through probate court because things weren't titled correctly. So you get two extremes when it comes to people. And it's interesting. I mean, I could write a book. Oh, by the way, I did, about all this crazy stuff. It's called If You Don't Plan, You're Stupid. So there's some crazy stories in there, guys, if you want to read them. Trust me. Amazon. Talk to you later. All right, what are we talking about?
I love the shameless plug. I love it.
I'd never plug myself, but that one I had to. It was too easy.
Yeah, I like. You know what? It was the perfect time to do so. So, well, you always got to time it just right.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, why do beneficiary designations take priority over the estate plan, even when the will or the trust says something completely different?
Yeah. And that's what you need to understand. I mean, here's a general rule, okay? Contract law is going to override probate law. Okay? Contract law overrides probate law, overrides estate planning, overrides everything. So a beneficiary designation technically will not go through probate court. Okay? So, Shamika, let's use an example. I got 2 kids, Allie and Jason, okay, with my wife, Debbie. And let's just say that I have an IRA and I pass away, and and my wife had unfortunately predeceased me, which will never happen, by the way, because guys never survive their wives. It's part of marriage. That's just what happens. Okay. So let's assume that I survive for once. Okay. And I pass away, and I have an IRA, and it goes to my 2 kids equally, 50-50 beneficiary designation. And then I have a bank account, and there's no name on it, right? So what happens? Well, in that situation, the IRA is going to go wherever the beneficiary designation is. So it's going to go 50-50. Even if I have my will says everything goes to my son Jason, which I would never do, but as an example, everything goes to my son Jason, the IRA would not be controlled by that because the beneficiary supersedes the will or probate. And if I had a trust and the trust says everything goes to my son Jason in my trust, and the beneficiary says 50-50 to my daughter and my son, the beneficiary rule or contractual rules are going to control over the trust rules in that situation. That's just how it is. It's set by the courts. It's been documented by precedent over precedent over precedent. And so that is what happens. No matter what you can do, the beneficiary designations are going to control. Now, here's where problems lie with beneficiary designations. What happens if you don't name a beneficiary?
Oh, that's a good question.
So, Shamika, you have an IRA, okay, and you pass away, and we have your son that's not born yet, named Jonathan. As you want to name him as a beneficiary in the will, you did a will, okay, and the will says everything goes to Jonathan, okay. The IRA has a beneficiary where you can name someone. You forgot to do it. You just forgot,
Right.
and you died. Guess what? The beneficiary, there is none. So what happens? Well, the IRA company is going to say, well, you forgot to name a beneficiary, so it's going to have to go to the estate of Shamika, which means it's going to go through probate court first.
Hmm.
Then we'll look at the will, and the will says everything to Jonathan, and it goes to Jonathan. So there are times, lots of times, when beneficiary, and here's a general rule, guys. Okay, Shamika, here's a general rule. Anything with a beneficiary form should avoid probate court. What are beneficiary? IRAs, 401ks, life insurance, annuities, all have beneficiary forms. They should not usually go through probate. But when will they go through probate? The example I just gave you. You forgot the name. You never did a beneficiary designation. Well, guess what? You're going through probate. Well, you're not because you're dead, but your family's going through probate, right?
Now, is Jonathan alive? Is Jonathan alive? Because I know we said he was unborn. Is he alive at this point?
He's alive. He's
Okay.
alive. But yeah, he's alive, but he's only 10 years old. So that's a whole nother problem that we now have unraveled. So not only did you forget to name him as a beneficiary, so now we got to go through probate court, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then we look at the will, and the will says everything to my 10-year-old son, Jonathan. Now Jonathan's under 18, so he's not an adult. So now there has to be a guardianship open for the minor child until he's 18. And then when he's 18, it makes it worse because now he gets all the money at 18 and he could blow it. Let me tell you a story. I got a good story. Side note, here's a story. All right. Long time ago, when I was a young pup, a young attorney, maybe 7 years in practice, I'm now 30 plus years. I met with a gentleman who unfortunately had terminal cancer. He had, at the time, it was a 23-year-old son. He was divorced. He had a substantial estate, $1.5 million or so at the time. And I said, we need to set things up to avoid probate court because it's going to get expensive if that were to happen. And he goes, I'm not worried about that. I just want everything to go to my son. Just do a will. I said, I'm telling you, you need to spend a little more money now to avoid a huge problem later. He goes, no, just give everything to my son. I said, well, your son's 23. I go, you're going to give everything to him at 23 years old, $1.5 million. I said, you have a terminal condition. You know, you're not going to live forever, unfortunately. Are you sure you want to give a 23-year-old $1.5 million? He goes, absolutely. He's mature. I trust him. I go, we can protect him by setting up where he gets it over ages so he doesn't blow. No, good. So he died. He had IRAs. He never named a beneficiary. I told him to do it. He never did. He had life insurance. He named his son as the life. He did name his son as the life insurance beneficiary there. He had brokerage accounts and everything else that didn't have. It was just in his name alone. He died.
Mm-hmm.
All the assets that didn't have a beneficiary went through the courts, probate court, all the hassles, delays, expenses of probate. At the end, we looked at the will. The will says everything goes to your 23-year-old son. The 23-year-old son got all the $1.5 million at 23. I called the son up about a year later to check up on him just to see how he was doing. And I said, how are you doing? Blah, blah. He says, I'm doing great. I said, are you investing the money? Have you taken care of things? Have you done the right thing? Have you hired somebody? And guess what he told me? He said, no. I said, well, how much do you have left? He says, I got about 250,000 of it. I go, what? I go, it's been about a year. What the hell happened? He says, well, you know what I did? He says, I went and bought a Winnebago and I had 4 of my friends and for the summer, we drove the entire country and had a great time and visited all these sites, went to Vegas, gambled a ton of money, did everything. And I paid for everything. And I said, and that's where all the money went. He goes, yeah. So, yeah. So the moral of the story is as follows. You have beneficiary designations. Sometimes, even though if you have adult kids over 18, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and you name them as a beneficiary, just realize they're going to get it right then and there when you die. So a lot of times what we do is we have kids that aren't mature or they're not old enough, or we want to really leave a legacy for the family. We want to make them have a couple of chances at it in case they blow it.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we want to set up maybe a trust and have the trust as the beneficiary, not the kid. And then it still avoids the courts and it goes directly to the trust. And then the trust is like a bubble. And it says that my kid gets it, he'll get 20% upon my death. And then 5 years later, he'll get another 20%. And then 5 years, another 20. So he cannot blow it all at once like that example. So just because we have beneficiary designations doesn't mean that you shouldn't do estate planning. In fact, you have to do estate planning with beneficiary designations. It goes hand in hand, guys.
Well, for somebody that maybe this is our last question since we go through these conversations so quickly, but for someone who hasn't checked their designations in say years, what's the best way for them to review everything and make sure everything matches their current plan?
That's great. So with my clients, we have a private client group called the Estate in One Place Private Client Group. And we actually have part of that process is they meet with me once a year and we review everything. So my recommendation is if you don't have an attorney that does that, then you need to do it on your own. Put together a spreadsheet and sit down with your wife and go over it once a year and maybe contact the insurance companies and ask them, hey, can you send me the latest update on who the beneficiaries are and verify they are exactly who they are? Because things happen, Shamika. People get divorced, right? Kids go in and out of favor. People pass away.
Right.
You get kids and grandkids. And then all of a sudden you want your grandkids to be a beneficiary. So you need to review this stuff. And I always say this, and I think I say it in my book. I say, listen, estate planning is dynamic. It's not static. It's dynamic, meaning it's always changing. Life changes. Things happen in life. And so you need to be constantly reviewing this. My recommendation is once a year. But I know I read a lot of stuff out there that says every 3 to 5 years. I don't think that's enough. I think every year you should do something. You should just look at it. It should be, we have to pay our taxes every year. Every September 1st or whatever, you need to put it in the calendar and say, it's time for us to just review our estate plan and review our beneficiary designations, make sure everything is lined up accordingly. That's my recommendation.
And I think that's a great recommendation. I'm going to put it in my phone on my calendar, and write it on my physical calendar. It's not true if it's not written on the physical calendar for me.
I understand. I hope people got something out of this little discussion today.
I think so, and it's been super informative. So thank you again, Andy, for sharing all of this with us.
You're welcome, Shamika. I wish I made you laugh more on this one.
Well, I was so locked in and listening, and in my head also thinking like, yep, I gotta check this. So hopefully that's what people
Yeah.
do when they listen.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's important, guys. Listen, this may not be the most exciting material that on our podcast, guys, that we talk about, but it's one of the most important. And remember that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you for listening to If You Don't Plan, You're Stupid. And remember the Amazon book that Andy mentioned. Beneficiary designations control more than people realize, and getting them wrong can completely reroute your estate plan. So, if you want to make sure that everything is aligned and your assets go exactly where you intend, visit rosenberglawfirm.net to get started. And don't forget to leave a review, and subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.
If you don't plan, you're stupid.